Hey everyone, I'm Rudy Oliva. You're watching Smoking the Barbecue. For today's cook, I picked up this tri-tip at my local grocery store. It's about 1.8 pounds, and I'm going to be throwing it on my Yoder offset, and we're going to be cooking it using hickory. Now, even though it looks like the sun is beaming out here, the only worry that I have is that there's supposed to be thunderstorms within like the next hour or so. I'm hoping it holds up just long enough for me to be able to do this cook, and hopefully we have no issues. So let's go ahead and let's get started. All right, now, first thing we want to do is just trim off some of the silver skin and some of this extra fat. There's not really a whole lot to be done on this, but just a little bit of a trim. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to put a little bit of olive oil on both sides of this. Just like that. Now we're going to take some coarse kosher salt. A little much there. Take our black pepper. And garlic powder. All right, let's flip it over, do the same thing. All right, that ought to do it. All right, guys, so the way that I'm going to do this, I'm going to bring the smoker up between 225 and 250. I'm going to put the tri-tip on, and I want to bring it up to an internal temperature of 125. Once I get that 125 internal, I'm going to move it over to the firebox because I actually have a grill grate for my firebox so that I can sear it on there. And I want to bring it up to 150, which is going to be a medium finish for the tri-tip. Now you're asking me why I'm going to bring it all the way up to 150. Well, the reason I have to do that is because I'm sharing this with my wife, and that's the finish that it has to have in order for her to eat it. If I bring it inside medium rare, she's just going to make me cook it more. So to avoid all that, I'm just going to cook it to 150. It'll still be nice and pink on the inside, and you know, it'll be good enough for her to eat it. So, all right, let's get started. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and throw this thing on. Now, because this is a relatively fast cook, and it's not a big piece of meat, I'm going to put it a little bit closer to the firebox, so on the first half. And tri-tip is basically cut thinner on one end than on the other, so the thicker side I'm going to put towards the fire. Put it just like that. All right, we'll check on it a little bit. Okay, guys, so now that I got that on there, there's a couple things I wanted to touch on. Obviously, firing up the smoker for such a small piece of meat, it's actually, you know, a little bit of work. I don't worry about it too much just because my smoker is pretty small, but if you have a bigger smoker and, you know, it's just not worth it, you could do this on the Weber kettle as well. I've done it before. Actually, my next video, I may do the same thing just on the Weber kettle using indirect heat, just so you can see that process as well. The other thing that I wanted to touch on was I got super frustrated with a butcher at my local grocery store the other day. Basically, I'd gone to a couple of different grocery stores and I couldn't find a piece of tri-tip. So finally at one, I asked the butcher, I go, hey, do you have any tri-tip? And he says to me, no, picanha is the same thing. And I said, no, it's not the same thing. He goes, no. Picanha is definitely the same thing. It's just that picanha is the Brazilian word and tri-tip is the American word. I didn't want to start an argument, so I just said, okay, yeah, no problem, thank you, and I left. Tri-tip and picanha are not the same. The only thing that, you know, kind of, I guess, makes them look the same is that they both have a triangular type shape, but picanha has a thick layer of fat on it. Tri-tip does not. It's a different cut of meat, guys. So don't get fooled, because it's not the first time that I've heard somebody, you know, make that claim. Tri-tip and picanha are both very good. Picanha is actually one of my favorite cuts, but they are not the same thing. So just wanted to let you guys know that little piece of information. All right, let's see in a little bit. All right, guys, so I got a little sidetracked. My temperatures went way over what it needed to be, but hopefully I can still save this. So let's throw it on the firebox. See if we can get a nice sear on it. All right, so my coal bed wasn't hot enough to sear it, so I ended up just throwing a couple splits in there to get a nice flame going and see if that helps out. All right, let's go ahead and flip it over. We'll give it a couple minutes on this side. All right, let's go ahead and pull this thing off before we burn it. Here's my finished product. I'm a little nervous that it's overcooked, but let's take a look. All right, let's see. Looks pretty good. Actually, it tastes amazing. All right, but this is the real test. Go ahead, babe, try it.
It's good, babe.
Thank you, my love.
You're welcome.
All right, we have one last taste test to do. Try that, Natalie. Do you like it? Awesome. So Papa did good? All right. Okay, guys, so to summarize this cook, one of the things that I've learned over time of doing this, there's always some kind of obstacle that, you know, you're going to come across whenever you're barbecuing. Whether it's, you know, temperature spiking or fire going out or weather, you know, things happen. A couple of the obstacles that I had today were that, one, my thermometer, I left it outside on the table and it actually got too hot where I was getting an error reading. So I had to wait for that thing to cool down to be able to check the temps. At one point also I recorded using my phone and the sun got my phone too hot, so my camera stopped working. You know, those are just a couple of the obstacles. Then, you know, like you guys saw when I went to take the tri-tip over from the cook chamber to the firebox, the firebox wasn't hot enough to sear it, so then I had to address that problem. So the main thing is, don't get discouraged. You know, just try to work through these problems, and you know, you're still more than likely going to come out with at least something halfway decent. The flavor of the tri-tip was on point today. The tenderness wasn't exactly where I wanted it, but that's because I overcooked it just a little bit. And by the way, if you're wondering what beer I'm drinking, it is a light beer, but it damn sure ain't Bud Light. See you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.